Welcome back to the channel. My name is Brady Prenslow and this is Race Age 50. Just got back to Minnesota after doing 5 Criteriums in 6 days in Wisconsin. First 4 were part of the Tour of America Dairyland Masters 50 plus 60 plus race, and the last one was the Masters Nationals in Wauwatosa for 50 to 55. And you can't race 5 crits, 250 minutes of crit racing without making several mistakes. So here are 5 of those mistakes over the course of those 5 crits, and God knows I made plenty more than that. These races are in their entirety on my YouTube channel, so feel free to pick them apart if you would like. But here we are at the Cedarburg Classic, and really the biggest challenge of this race was getting out of the car after driving here from Minnesota 6 hours and jumping into a race with 80 plus riders and just feeling comfortable. So it took, maybe the first 10 laps to really start to get comfortable again, moving around the field, shoulder to shoulder, moving up, moving down. And again, these were fast fields. So again, the last time I was in a field of this size was probably about a year ago in the Chicago Grit series. But I look forward to this course again. As you can see, it's just a 4-corner crit with a little bit of an uphill here going into turn 1. As you can see, 3, 4, 500 watts. And then this second turn, actually turn 2, I'm sorry. The second turn was a little bit tricky. If you roll it outside, you're going to run into this curb jutting out there a little bit. And if you run it inside, you might get pinched. As you can see, I'm about ready to get a little bit pinched here. Again, I bump shoulders with the rider to the right of me, which doesn't really create too many issues, but we get through it. But like I said, here we are in basically 2/3 of the way in the race. That was probably the closest I had gotten to that cone. But there were several breakaway attempts. As you can see, there's a couple riders up the road. My teammate Laszlo puts his hand on Richter's back, and we are trying to chase this down. Again, my legs are feeling pretty good. These are long stretches with just that little bit of a climb in the back. We put in a dig. I kind of just ride the wheels up, and we catch a few of the guys, but I think it is my understanding that there are still a couple of riders up the road. So we kind of bring the whole group back, and there still might be a rider or 2 up the road at this point. So realizing that we're kind of all back together, I want to sort of slot back in, try to save some watts by getting out of the wind here. And going into here, we're at 17 miles. I don't have a lap counter on. There's a couple riders up the road, and I believe this is when my teammate Matt right there on the left side goes in the gutter and bridges up to this break. So I believe then this break ends up being about 4 or 5 riders with my teammate in it. So at this point, I'm not going to contribute at all to bringing back this break since my teammate Matt is in the break. I think my other teammate Laszlo is on the front pretending to go hard, but as you can see, we're not going all that fast. And we thought they were gone. They were kind of out of sight. I know we don't have a lot of laps left here, but we thought we were sort of sprinting for 6th or 7th. And at the end of the race, the crazy thing is that they get caught at the very end. So here we are going into with 3 laps to go, feeling pretty good, trying to move up again, realizing that my teammate's up the road, and I'm trying to follow wheels. And then with 3 laps to go, I didn't realize that there was a $200 premium on the line. So at this point, I'm thinking, all right, I'm just trying to follow wheels to make sure that the brake doesn't get caught. And then it's right about here I realize that Ben Sharp, who's out in front, is going for that $200 premium, and I am completely in no man's land, having spent definitely a match. And then thinking, well, this is pretty much it for my race with about 2 laps to go. So with 2 laps to go, I'm sitting out here just sort of floating in no man's land. Speed things up again. Again, still, I'm 300-400 watts. I should have gone back to the group immediately. And now there's about a lap and a half left. And I'm thinking, well, maybe I've recovered. And a few races from now, I probably would have been recovered. But again, just getting out of the car, jumping into this race, I'm sort of humoring myself at this point, saying, you know what? I still might have something at the end. So my teammate there to the right, Laszlo, is pedaling in front of me, and I just tell him, all right, Laszlo, I'm on your 6. I'm on you. And here we are with 1 lap to go. And I'm still kind of thinking I might have a little bit left in the tank as Laszlo's fighting for this wheel. And, you know, I kind of let him know I might not have it. Again, that match was spent. So here we are on the final lap, and there's still a break of about 4 or 5 riders up the road. And again, this group actually catches them, oddly enough. So now we are just fighting for wheels. This last lap is just, again, trying to get position for that last corner to be their first or second wheel. And Laszlo's doing everything right. Richter kind of comes up. That is the wheel to be on, and Laszlo realizes it. He jumps on this wheel, and it's at this point right here going up to this uphill in turn 2 that I realize I do not have the wattage to hold this. So now this is the most depressing part of the whole race, is I am completely going backwards. Able to put out 300-400 watts, but not the 600, 700, 800 watts to get up this hill needed to be in that top 3 position. And again, still going high 20s, 30s, so I'm not being unsafe at this point, but I am definitely going in the wrong direction. And at this point, you're still kind of humoring yourself, like, oh, maybe there's a shot. There's no shot. My race was basically over when I chased that cream rider with 2 laps to go. So here we are coming into the finish, the final turn. I think I do actually stand up just to kind of keep things safe and put out a little sprint, but realize that I think I'm high 20s, low 30s. So definitely disappointing first race. And again, that first mistake was just be patient. I was a little bit trigger happy. Now we've got the Clock Tower Classic, and Laszlo and I were staying in a hotel about a mile from this race, so we had driven it the night before, and just driving this half-mile course was enough to kind of make me lose a little bit of sleep the night before. I had no idea what to expect. All I knew is that something could go from the gun, and that I did want to be up front, because if you're in the back in a race like this where you're doing laps about every minute, you can see we did 48 laps, so we truly were doing about a lap a minute, where you are turning honestly every 10, 15, 20 seconds. I knew I wanted to be up front, so I spent these first couple laps just trying to get up front. And like any race, you sort of learn where you can move up. And on this course, here we are in between turns 3 and 4. If you're willing to get out into these cobbles a little bit and slot back in, you can generally pick off a couple of riders every lap. And it was about on lap 3 or 4 that I started realizing I really like this course. I raced at the Velodrome in Minnesota for several years, and honestly, this is probably the most like a Velodrome crit that you're going to find, minus the banking, and that's going to come into effect here in just a little bit. So again, we are rolling, and this race went by so quickly because we were turning so much that you just honestly could not mentally check out. Not that you ever can mentally check out, but you really could not mentally check out here. There was a little bit of a hill here right after turn 2. As you can see, 6, 7, or I guess 4, 5, 600 watts. The farther up front you were, the less you had to do. So again, I spent these first several laps just trying to sort of work my way up to the front. And felt pretty comfortable the whole time. Honestly, I didn't really see too many sketchy things, but trying to figure out exactly what line were the best lines, where could I save energy. And I don't know when Mark Tucker took off, but we were lapped by a single rider. And I didn't realize it until the announcer said, well, he caught the group. I thought, okay, now we're all sprinting for second and third, which again are still podium places. And as you can see, that probably the trickiest turn is this first turn. I came back for the pro race later that night, and there were several crashes on that turn because it's a little bit of a downhill, and then it winds out, but then it juts back in sort of at the apex of where you want your bike to be on that turn. So you kind of get precariously close to those barriers and pads every time. But again, super fun race. Here we are, I fast forwarded to lap 30, and we're kind of strung out. It looks like I'm roughly about top 10. And at this point, Again, you should just be able to ride completely smooth. Going a little wide here, trying to move up as I can and still stay out of the wind. We slow down here a little bit, and again, like I said, Mark Tucker's up the road, but I'm sitting here in the top 3 or 4 position. I don't really necessarily want to be in the wind, but I think at this point, this was like the first time I'd gotten to the front, so I was like, all right, cool, I'm here. We have about 17, 18 laps left, or about a third of the race, so 15 minutes here or so. So I just go at this point, I'm going to stay up front, position myself behind Carney here, who is the series leader at this point. I feel like this is a pretty good place to be, even though there'll be a lot of movement here in these last several laps. So it'll be interesting to see if this crit comes back. I know a lot of my teammates and other riders didn't necessarily like it. It is a little bit short, but like I'd said, if you can turn your bike, it goes by really quickly, and you can kind of move up when you can. So here we are with about 10 laps to go. I'm on my teammate Laszlo's wheel. We're on the inside of turn 1, and as you can see, this is really where you want to be. You can kind of roll the outside, but the inside is a lot safer. You come up on the inside of turn 2, and you're still doing a lot of watts. We're really stretched out at this point. Get back onto the 60 plus series leaders wheel and roll into this straightaway. And this was honestly the fastest part of the race after that little uphill from turn 2. Here we are, 40 laps, so 8 laps to go. And I was always surprised that people could sort of dive in on the outside gutter of that turn. 45, so now we are really getting down there. And if you are trying to go for the sprint, all you're doing at this point is trying to stay out of the wind and keep your top 4, 5, 6 position. So kind of came over the top a little bit, and then there was this Meteor rider who had been on the front for a long time and was done. So just like that, I go and lose probably 8 or 9 positions. It wasn't his fault. It wasn't my fault necessarily. It just sometimes is the way to go. And like I said, the inside line is generally always the best line to avoid crashes, to avoid riders coming back, and to avoid things that we are going to see here in just a second. So again, 46 out of 48 laps. We dropped probably a third of the field at this point. Mark Tucker had lapped the field, so again, we were all just sprinting for second place at this point. But like I said, this section going into turn 3 was generally the fastest after we had kind of crested that hill. I don't know if we had a little bit of a tailwind there or not, but kind of figured out a way to get back up. Like I said, I'd lost about 8 positions on the last lap, gained most of those back. And again, all you're doing at this point is just trying to stay safe, trying to stay as much out of the wind as you can, and trying to stay in that top 3, 4, 5, 6 position. And I was feeling pretty good. If anything, I should have been on the inside of this line and not hanging out on the outside. So this is lap 47 of 48. We're getting really stretched out here at this point. And feeling pretty good. Again, series leader, I get on his wheel. He gets on Laszlo's wheel. And now, again, I'm 4th wheel with a lap and a half to go. Feeling really good. Here's what I should have done at this point. I should have fought for that inside line. So I'm feeling pretty comfortable on this outside line. And I'm still on that outside line. I get pushed out a little bit, which is fine. Again, Laszlo, and then I'm about 3rd wheel. That Miles Billings is in that gold Cervelo. And again, my fatal flaw, mistake number 2, is the outside line is never the great line. Be on the inside line. As you can see, we're coming in with 1 to go. Turn 1, I'm on the outside. Everybody pushes out. Meyerson gets in there. He bumps Billings. Billings bumps me. And that is the end of my race. Just a tiny little bit of a contact. I think it was my reptilian brain basically that saw that my bike was pointed in the wrong direction. He gets bumped. I get bumped. Just a little bump. Nobody's at fault here. I sort of lock things up and slow my bike down. I kind of wiggle around and I go from, oh, I'm going to crash. I'm not going to crash. I'm going to crash. I'm not going to crash. At this point, I'm like, I've completely saved it. I'm still going 22 miles an hour-ish, but slow things down pretty quickly and just sort of put my nose into the pad. And that is my race. Come in solo, I don't know, finish 30th or something. So again, lesson number 2, inside line, inside line, inside line. So we are going from Oak Creek to Bayview. And Bayview I have raced several times. So those first 2 crits I had never raced before. This has been primarily the second half of ToAD, which is 40 plus. So I've raced this in the 40 plus field at least 3 times, and I like to refer to Bayview as the washing machine. You can see it is a 6-corner crit in sort of a figure 8 fashion with 1 turn here, and turn 2 as we're coming into it, which is over 90. And unlike a lot of crits, you really need to be up front or you're going to be sprinting out of this turn every time. So again, sprinting out of it at 19 miles an hour. And let's just go through some of these turns here. As you can see, again, roads are in great condition. Lap number 2, I go in at 23. I come out at 19 miles an hour, and then go up to 600. Turn lap 3, 20 to 19. Again, it's just a matter of trying to figure out where to place. Are you inside or are you outside? 20, and then I'm down to 18 miles an hour, and then there's 1,000 watts. Here, again, I'm about midfield, going in slower, 19, and coming out a little bit, about the same. So here I'm going in at 20 on lap 6, coming out at 17, 16, where again I'm having to put out a crazy number of watts. Here I'm coming in pretty fast, 24 miles an hour. We must be chasing something, and dip down to about 20. So far that is probably the most efficient lap. Lap number 8, going in at 19, coming out at 19. And the only reason I did this is to just show how taxing that one turn is, 22 to 20. So again, if you can fight for those top 10 positions. All right, lap 10. We're all strung out, going in at 23, coming out at 2019. Again, you'd think it would be better than that. It's not like I'm leaving huge gaps in front of me. We're all just sort of rolling, going in at 21, coming out at 18. Here again, I'm about maybe top 30. I'm going in at 21, coming out at 1920. That one wasn't too bad. Still haven't put out 700-800 watts. Following a teammate, coming out at 20. Here I'm really jammed up. Going in at 17. Coming out at 18. Here we're strung out a little bit. Going in at 24. Tight. That was definitely the most efficient turn so far. Still haven't put out 800 watts with smooth. Filtered back. Going in at 20, coming out at 19. Oh, all right, here we got turn 4 and 5. Now turns 4, you can go really hot into it. As you can see, we're approaching 30 miles an hour going into turn 4. And here's my mistake, a little bit of a dive bomber. We go after turn 4, and a couple things happen. There's some guys up front sprinting. I come in hot. Everybody else kind of slows, and I go into turn 5. On the inside, it doesn't look that bad from there, but somebody called me a fuckhead, so they didn't like it. Mistake number 3, no dive bombing, Prenzlow. That was not the most egregious dive bomb of the week, but I apologize for that. Here we are, lap 17. I take it on the inside, and it looks like the inside is definitely the way to go. Coming out at 21, again going in at 24, coming out at 22. I think it's at this point just a matter of everybody's sort of realizing how to take it. Lap 19 now, again, much more efficient. Lap 20, back down to 19. There I am doing 800 watts again. Lap number 21, now we are really getting down there. Everybody's getting a little bit antsy. So we're just going to keep rolling here a little bit. Lap 22, again, coming out at 19 miles an hour. All right, now we've got basically, what do we got left? 1 lap to go or 2 laps to go? We have 2 laps to go. So at this part, my camera, it is so humid, my camera is fogging up. We got 2 laps to go, and everybody is just trying to hold position here and get in that top 5 position. And if I do really my biggest mistake in this one is that I just do a terrible job of holding wheels. I let everybody and their brother get by me. And I'm usually a lot better at that than this. You know, maybe it was these tight turns. Maybe it was because I got called a fuckhead about 10 minutes ago by the guy right in front of me, I think. But we are rolling with about a lap and a half to go. And I'm looking for teammates. Now, Matt had just tried to bridge the brake back. No, Laszlo had just tried to bridge the brake back. So I asked him, how's he feeling? He's like, not great. I understand when he starts telling me the wheels I need to follow rather than being the wheel I need to follow. Probably not the greatest. But here comes Matt, and Matt does a fantastic job. I love filming these races because I don't think I would have remembered what a fantastic job Matt did. He comes across, he's like, all right, Brady, let's go. And I just need to stay on his wheel. He looks back, he's like, yep, Prenzlo, you there? This road is terrible. And for whatever reason, I get pushed out a little bit on this road. I lose his wheel a little bit, and honestly, that was probably the difference. That might have been the difference of a top 5 or 6, and there were several riders up the road. You know, a top 3 in the field versus what I ended up, which was more of like a top 12 in the field, top 10 in the field. And again, we have 1 lap to go, and like I said, everybody and their brother comes around me. This is my worst race where I was feeling good. My legs were feeling good. I just could not hold position. Mike Hagney now comes up on my inside and lets him know. He goes, actually, Brady, I'm there. I'm like, all right. Now I'm going into this over 90 turn, in between 2 sprinters, behind a sprinter. We're all bunched up. Mike Hagney here, we come out of this turn. He gets a little bit cut off here, and I come around the inside, so I kind of have to burn a little bit of a match, as you do. But get on the stars and stripes, and Matt is still out front, just doing a fantastic job. I feel so guilty for not being a better sprinter behind my lead out man. And then these last several turns, again, it's a combination of staying out of the wind, finding wheels, and finding a good patch of road. These last 2 sections of road are so bad. And here we go into turn 4 again, still getting passed by people. And I don't know why I decided to take the outside between turn 4 and 5, but I do. I think there might have been somebody to the right of me, but I take the outside, which is honestly the worst section of road, bouncing everywhere. And the outside line, like we learned in the last crit, is never generally the best idea. And now everybody is just trying to put out watts, trying to get to the finish line. Everybody's spread all over the place. Everybody's in the wind. We come together, and at this point, really, there's not too many people behind me. I cut across here a little bit, but nobody's behind me. I get on this guy's wheel, and we all kind of just maintain. It's, again, top 12, top 13 finish, but I feel bad. I let Matt down for sure, because he did a lion's share of the work that last lap or 2. So here we are at Shorewood, and like Bayview, I've raced Shorewood many times. I've raced Shorewood probably 5 or 6 times. And here's what you need to know about Shorewood. If you don't care about the brake getting away, you can race Shorewood from the back in the sprinter's chair here for the first 40 minutes of this 50-minute race. This is a 4-corner crit. They're honestly, if you're racing it well, you should never have to hit the brakes. And again, being the 4th crit in 4 days, I'm like, you know what? I told my teammates, you're not going to see me. You are not going to see me for the first 35 or 40 minutes of this race. So I just hung back here and tried to save as much energy as I could. And again, a brake did get away. What were there? I think 2 guys ended up getting away at the end. Like I said, I have no idea because I'm back here in the sprinter's lounge chair, just taking it easy. Maybe moved up a little bit on lap like 10 or 11 just to see what was going on. But like I said, I spent most of the time back here. So we fast forward to lap 19. And I talk about a lot of mistakes that I made. I'm about to bring up a 4th mistake, but I think one of the best things I did all week was maintaining position individually in the last couple laps of this race. So The problem was that my two lead out guys did a lot of work. Like I said, there were two riders up the road, and they were both up front trying to bring that brake back. And in retrospect, they said, you know what, we should have just let that go and set you up for a super, super fast third place lead out. I've got one teammate, Dan Neff, who gets to the front, and he's still trying to bring back this brake. So again, we are on lap 19 of 22, so I believe we'll be coming across the start-finish line here with 3 to go or 2 to go. I love this course. This is, again, this final stretch is a little bit bumpy, but nothing beats a nice 4-corner crit. I get on Laszlo's wheel. Again, he had just been working to try to bring this brake back, but and Matt gets up front, and look how much time Matt spends up on front. Again, he is the best teammate. So trying to look here with 3 to go. Okay, we've got 3 to go. And in this case, unlike the clock tower crit, 3 to go on this course means that we're still got several minutes here of racing left. So I just want to stay in the top 5 or 6 riders and stay out of the wind. And like I said, this is probably one of the best things I did all week. It doesn't necessarily end in the best result, but I do so in a safe way, in a way that saves me quite a few watts, and again, a pretty efficient way. So now there's about, again, 2.5 laps left. I don't know what's happening here in front of me, trying to a little bit of a balancing act, but I realized coming across turn 2, I'm like, all right, I need to move up a little bit here. We're taking a look at my watts, 700-800 watts, which again isn't ideal, but little doses to just kind of move you up. And again, in the last 3 laps, if you're not moving up, you're probably moving back. So again, here I'm in the wind a little bit, and we're getting swarmed a little bit. There's kind of a trend to this crit where unless you're going 33, 34 miles an hour, it's always going to get a little bunchy and swarmy going into this chicane. And I realized, like, okay, again, got a little bunchy going into the chicane. I need to move up if I can, and I've kind of found a spot to move up here between turns 3 and 4 on the outside. A little bit protected from the wind. Again, I'm doing 116, 119, 49 watts and still being able to go around a few people. Again, now we are going into 2 laps to go. Matt is still out front. And if you've got a Tour de France style lead out, he could probably do 2 or 3 laps. But again, we are not Tour de France style leaders. So Dan Neff comes off. Now it is just Matt, 2 riders, Laszlo, and myself with 2 laps to go. And like I just said, these are pretty long laps. Matt's still up front. And we are going 26. A better scenario would be to have Matt up front with 1 lap to go and for us to be going about 36 miles an hour. But here we are with 2 laps to go, trying to avoid the swarm. I'm on the Lowlands sprint jersey. I move up. Laszlo takes over for Matt. So now I've got 2 teammates, Laszlo, Matt, and I get on Carney's wheel, realizing that Carney is probably the best sprinter in the bunch. So here we still have about just over a lap and a half left. And is it going to get bunchy? Is it going to get swarmy going into the chicane? Carney tightens both shoes. He's getting ready for the sprint. He's like, thanks guys, this is a perfect lead out for me. I really appreciate it. But again, feeling good. We're going 25 at this point. It'd be better if we were going about 33, but I get it. They have done a ton of work, and just like I anticipated, it gets really swarmy going into this chicane. I should have figured that this would be the case going into the last lap as well. We go into the chicane with about a lap and a third left. I'm like, crap, I just lost about 8 positions. Again, we're going to be coming through the chicane with 1 more lap to go. I do what I do on the last lap. I find sort of that outside line. I put in a little bit of a dig, 600, 700, 800 watts. And again, move up on the outside. I know I need to get on Laszlo's wheel because if Laszlo turns around and I'm not there, that's not going to bode well for the lead out. So again, I do what I need to do on this final turn of the second to last lap. I move up on the outside. I see Laszlo's wheel. I'm like, all right, this is my crit here. Get on Laszlo's wheel. I know that he's going to turn around, and he does. Turns around. Yep, I'm there. And as you can see, Matt is still up front. So here we are going into the start finish line with one lap to go. We're going 27 miles an hour. Ideally, it'd be, like I said, it'd be a lot better if it was about 33, 34, but you can see how long Matt has been up there. What a fantastic teammate. And again, between turns 1 and 2, I know nothing's really going to come around us. Matt's doing a great job up there. Laszlo turns around. Yep, I'm still there. Nice, clean lead out. Yeah, this is fantastic. You know, if you're a sprinter, this is absolutely everything that you love. And again, the mistake we made here is we worked a little bit too hard to bring back the brake, and we started the lead out a little earlier than we should have. So I yell at Matt, because I'm fighting with Miles Billings here, to go left. If you are a lead out train, you want to pick a side of the road to avoid the swarm, because here we are in the middle of the road going 31 miles an hour, and I know that riders are going to come up to the left and the right. And sure enough, a rider comes up the left, some riders come up the right, and we lose about 5 or 6. I stick on Laszlo. Matt's done. He's moving on back. We get through this chicane. I'm not in as bad of a position as I was a lap ago, but I'm still, when you start counting down, you're still about a second and a half or even 2 seconds from the lead 3 guys. So even if you are a much faster sprinter coming around that last turn, you're never going to catch him. In retrospect, again, I probably should have jumped with everybody else going into that chicane, but I wanted to honor my lead out. So here I am on Laszlo. We go around the corner, and Laszlo's old frame flexes, and he drops his chain. Boom, right there. So I pause and hesitate for a second. I get around him, and I'm gaining a little bit on these riders up the road, but like I said, they already have the gap they needed. So I basically just kind of coast in for 7th among the 50s, 8th among the 50s and 60s. So very fun. Again, super fun to try to put something together. Here we are now on our final day. We had Saturday off, and we are in Wauwatosa, Wisconsin for the Crit Nationals. This is the 50 to 55. And I'll go over it here in a second, but my mistake with this crit was just not having confidence or believing in myself and psyching myself out. It was super hot. It was 90 plus degrees, super humid, and this crit probably had the biggest hill of any that we've done over the course of the week. So I just sort of, in the back of my mind, thought that I needed to sit and save myself because I did not want to blow up. And as it turns out, at the end of the race, my legs felt great. The heat did not bother me nearly as much as I thought. So my lesson here is that I should have been more confident and gotten up front earlier, and I probably would be much more satisfied if I got up early and blew up than to play it safe and have happen what actually ended up happening. I did work my way up kind of to that top 5 or 6, but then sort of floated back. Just always being a little bit hesitant to put in a dig or go with an attack. And it was an attack of 5 riders that ended up winning this race. So by the time my race does end, I'm pretty sure that we were probably just sprinting for 6th at this point anyway. But as you can see, this hill, it's a 20-25 second climb, but it's not like I'm at 900 to 1,000 watts. It's 300-400 watts, and it's very manageable. Plenty of time to catch your breath here on this downhill and the straightaway, especially if you are not leading through here. So the day before I thought, all right, I'm going to try something. I'm going to try to get into some breaks. And then as it got closer to the crit and it got hotter and hotter, and I rode the crit and I rode that hill, I just psyched myself out. You know, nothing around it. I don't know how I could have fared if I tried to get into that break, but I would have fared a lot better than I ended up. As you can see, we are completely strung out. We've probably dropped about 30 to 35 riders, and I am like the 30th rider. There's maybe 10 riders behind me at this point, but we are completely single file. And there are about 4 or 5 laps to go, and I'm thinking I need to move up. I think we're across the start-finish line up here with 6 to go. I've got my teammate Matt right in front of me, and I'm thinking, well, I don't know what's going to happen, but I need to move up. So like I said, mistake number 5 was not being all in from the beginning and playing it safe. We are still super strung out. I think the break that ended up winning only won by a few seconds because there were enough guys chasing on the front of this that the gap did not get to be all that big. But good luck moving up in a single file line going over 30 miles an hour. But I realize I do need to move up a few slots if I'm going to be in any kind of contention to get a top 10 finish. And that is where everything goes wrong. Completely my fault. We come around turn, I believe maybe turn 5 this is, and start slowing down a little bit. A truck rider comes up my inside here, and I think, all right, I'm going to try to move up a few on the inside and put in a little bit of a dig, get kind of pinched, and all I'm guessing is that I must have just feathered my rear brake a tiny bit across the crosswalk paint, and that's all it took. My rear slid out, and I was on the ground faster than I knew what happened. So I'm just glad that I was the only one that went down. I'm glad, as you can see based on my hand there, that I had gloves on. Lost a little skin on my side, lost a little skin on my arm. Got back on my bike, really wanted to finish. Was putting out some great watts. As I said, my legs felt great, but ended up getting pulled with 2 laps to go. So that was my national crit. And again, my lesson is that, shoot, man, you raced for 4 days. You did just fine. You should have been more confident in those first 5 or 10 laps of the race instead of playing it safe. But it was what it was. Even though I'm 50, I'm still learning. After racing here for 15, 16 years, you learn something every race. So thanks for watching. Again, feel free to comment. Be nice. Again, we're all human. And I look forward to seeing you possibly at Chicago Grit, hopefully at the Gateway Cup at Labor Day, and then hopefully at Nationals next year. Let's hope it's still in Wisconsin and they flip-flop these days so that the Masters race Downers and the Juniors race Wauwatosa. But anyway, thanks for watching and have a great rest of your summer.